Yo, Scooch, on today's video, I got how to make steal a Brainrot and stuff. It's a pretty popular game right now on Roblox. So I think it's got like 300k or like 400k players and stuff like that. So yeah, I wanted to start a series and stuff to show you guys how to make it and everything. Um, and yeah, so pretty much just as long as y'all show the series love and support, leave a like on the video. Let me know you want more. I'll continue with the series and stuff. So yeah, let's go ahead and get straight into it. Okay, so first things first. Most of this video will be spent building and stuff, like actually making stuff, and then we'll get to most of the coding and everything in part two and stuff. So don't worry if you don't see a feature right now, it'll be added in a later part and stuff. And just let y'all know, I am not a builder in any shape or form. I am just a scripter. I will only be building the bare minimum just to demonstrate how everything should work for you guys and stuff. But yeah, let's go ahead and get straight into the video. Okay. So first things first, right? We need to create a base, right? I'm going to refer to each, place where the people have, where the players have their, I don't even know what to call it, like units or the NPCs, whatever you want to call them, and stuff like that. So we're gonna call them bases and everything. So first things first, what we need to do is we need to make some walls. So I'm just gonna, my spawn's right here. I'm going to insert, I'm gonna go up here, click part, insert a block, and then I'm going to create a wall. So you guys can, it doesn't matter how long the wall is or anything like that, how tall it is, that's completely up to you guys. Stuff that doesn't matter and stuff. All that matters is that you name everything, and I can't emphasize this enough. Make sure you guys name everything exactly the same as me, like capitalization and everything. Okay, do not name anything different unless you know what you're doing, right? So first thing first, we have our first wall. This will just be like our back wall. So I think that's, again, you guys can like the size doesn't matter, that's up to y'all, and the color and everything, that's completely up to you guys and stuff, right? Obviously make sure it's anchored and it can't collide is turned on by default. This will be our back wall, right? Probably just change the material to metal, like a, I don't know, like a darker gray kind of thing. Then I'm going to duplicate this by either clicking duplicate in the top left, or while having it selected, Control plus D on the keyboard. Then I'm just gonna move it. Then I'm gonna rotate it. Just gonna go 90 degrees. Okay. Then I'm just gonna move this over. Then this will be our right. Well, oh, actually not. Yeah, that's definitely not wide enough. Okay, we're gonna have to make this a lot wider. And then we'll go over here and I'll just scale this down some more, and then that might actually be, yeah, I think that should be good, to be honest. But again, exact measurements is completely up to you guys. Okay, so boom, just a little like right there. And then this will be our, we're gonna, go from as if we're facing this direction. So we'll just call this our right wall. This will be our right wall. So boom, right wall. Then we will duplicate this, and then all we gotta do is just move it over, and then just align it with our back wall. Okay, we have our wall set up. So now, we've named every, well, we need to update the name. So make sure you select your left wall, and then you just update the name. So left wall, right? And then you're going to select all of them. So you're going to select one and then hold the control keybind, and then select each one individually. And then you're going to click Control plus G, or you can right click and click group as a model and stuff, right? Or Control plus G, whichever one works. And then you're going to want to rename this model to walls, right? And then just like that, we have finished our walls. Okay, and then obviously to edit it, if you don't know how obviously to edit them, just open up the walls group and then just grab one of them individually. But yeah, so now we need a roof, right? We have our walls, now we need a roof. So we're gonna go ahead and create a part, right? Another part, we're gonna just drag it to the top. Then we're just gonna scale this so like it'll be sticking out a little, and then just go like that. Scale it over, then just have it cover the entire base, a little out. Then we will scale it up a little bit, so something like that. Change the material to metal, and then we'll just have a, you know, we just have like a lighter roof, I guess. I don't know. And then we'll just name this roof, right? So roof, right? Boom. And then obviously make sure the roof is anchored, right? Very important. We don't want the roof to literally fall down. So just like that, we are done with our walls and our roof. Now we are going to move on to making our spawner. So by spawner, I'm not referring to the spawn location. I'm referring to the part that's going to be in front of the base, to where like the player will spawn at, so that they'll be in front of their base. So this is the front. So we're just going to insert a part, and then you're going to want to rename this part to spawner, right? And then you could just you know, make it a little wide and everything, just, you know, like that, little spawner. Then once you're done, set the, let me go to the properties. So you're gonna, where are the I'm so confused. Oh, my bad. I was at the bottom. So you're going to set transparency to 1. You're going to, of course, make sure it's anchored and disable can collide. And then boom. This is where the player will spawn at. You can put that wherever you want. You can put it inside the base if you wanted to. It's really up to you and stuff. Then from there, now we need our sign. You guys know how there's a sign at the top of the base, like in the middle up here on the roof, where it says, oh, this is so-and-so player's base. So that's what we're going to create. So it's going to be a regular part. So boom, insert a part. Just drag it to the top up here, and then you're just gonna like just scale it like all the way back, and then just do something kind of like that, just a little out like that, and then you do like that, and then obviously, you know, you want it to be like kind of centered in the middle, and we could just something like that. I think that should work pretty nice, right? And then you guys will name this sign. Definitely make sure this is anchored. And then we'll make the color brown because that's how it is in the game. So we'll make it brown, right? Then what we're going to do is we're going to insert UI. We're going to insert a surface GUI into it. So plus icon on the sign, then type surface GUI. So surface GUI, boom, right? Then you're going to want to go down and disable reset on spawn. Very important and stuff, right? Because what would happen is that if the player dies or anything, it would just go back to the default text. So we're going to have our sign GUI right here, right? Or and then you're going to want to rename Surface GUI to Sign GUI. Capital G, capital U, capital I. Again, name everything exactly as I'm naming it. Then you're going to want to insert a text label into the Sign GUI, right? And then you're probably not going to see it at first. So what you're gonna have to do is click the sign GUI, then you see the face, right? This pretty much controls the direction it's in, so you're just gonna have to play around with this stuff. So okay, I just got lucky on it may be different for you. It might be right, top, whatever and stuff. You just click, literally just click through each option until it's facing the direction you want it to. Okay, so then once we have it facing the right direction, rename the text label to sign. Oh my bad, sign text label, right? And then obviously we're gonna need to resize it so that it covers the entire part. So we're just gonna set the offset to like 500. That, oh, we might need to actually go to like maybe 2000. Nope, that's, well, maybe like 1500. And obviously this exact number will be different for you guys. Like, yeah, this number doesn't matter. This is just sizing and stuff. So y'all can set this to whatever you want. The number will probably be different for you. 1310, 1320. Okay, that's good enough. Then we need to adjust our Y so that it goes down, and we'll just say 1000. Okay, 500, 300, 350, 380. We'll just say 400. Yep, 400. Good enough. Okay. All right. Then you're going to want to set the background transparency to 1. You're going to scroll all the way down, make the text bold, rich text, scale the text. Then obviously by default, we'll set the text to empty base, change the text color to white. Text stroke color should be set to black. Text stroke transparency will be set to 0. Boom. And then we have our empty base. Okay. And then just like that, we have our sign set up and everything. So yeah, we're done with that. Then moving on, we have a simple light and stuff. I'm not going to make a whole bunch. Again, I'm not a builder. I'm just doing this just to demonstrate to you guys how the base should, generally speaking, look and stuff. It's up to you guys for how well you want it to look. I'm simply going to have one light just to light up the entire interior. So I'm just going to insert a part, right? You're going to name this light, right? It's up to you guys to make this look nice. And then I'm just going to drag this to like the top and like the middle. Of course, make sure you anchor this part, right? And then I'm just going to scale it a little like this. I'm going to make the brick color white, make the material neon, neon, and then I'm going to insert a surface light into it, right? And then as for the properties, I'm going to set the angle to 180, right? And then obviously, again, you're gonna need to probably adjust the face because this is clearly facing the wrong direction. So same thing with like the what we did with the Surface UI. So you're just gonna adjust them until it's facing the correct. That's up, I think. What direction is that? I can't tell if that's. I think that's to the side. Okay, so front, left, right, top, or oh wait, no, I think it was actually left or front. I think bottom. Okay, yeah, yeah, okay, okay. I think that's how it is. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and then you're gonna set the brightness to 5, and then you're going to set the range to 60, and then that's pretty bright. So then there we go. It should light up the whole base. But again, you guys can set the range, the brightness, the color, like all that stuff is up to you guys. All the customization is completely up to you guys. I'm just doing this again, bare minimum. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create the laser parts. You guys know how like when a person locks their base and stuff, the little lasers come up and stuff, right? So we're going to create that, right? So we're going to click part, then we're going to insert a cylinder. You're going to make the cylinder pretty skinny, so something like that. You're going to make, of course, the color red. You're going to set the material to neon, and then you're going to drag it all the way to the top. Then you will set the transparency to 0.5. And then you're just going to position it to where it needs to be inside of like, so like boom. So like, yeah, like right there. So yeah, like right there, right? And then you're going to want to rename this to laser. This is probably going to take the longest, honestly, for the entire video. So once you have it selected, you're just going to either, again, press, while having it selected, press Control plus D on your keyboard, or just press duplicate at the top left, and then you're just going to just drag it over. So Control plus D, Control plus D, boom. And then you're just gonna, you're just gonna keep moving them over, just with a little space in between. It's not gonna be perfect and stuff. If y'all want it to be, that's, all y'all. So just to clarify, this is not what actually prevents people from getting into your base, so you don't have to worry about making sure that players can fit through it. It doesn't matter. And so if you're about to see how we're going to be able to stop players from actually entering a player's base. This is literally just for show. So then duplicate this, duplicate it, boom, duplicate it, boom. It doesn't matter how you duplicate, by the way. I'm just showing you all the different ways how to. Boom. We're just going to keep going from left to right until we have finished all the way over here. Oh, that's actually just kind of too wide, not gonna lie. So like there, there, boom. Like I said, most of this video is literally going to be building. Next part will be mostly scripting and making actual systems and stuff. So we're going to continue doing this until we are done. Boom. Okay, we are almost done. There, and then like one more. Okay, there we go. All right, so we have all our lasers. Clearly we have a lot of parts. So what you can do is, right, you can hold left click and then just select everything we just made. Make sure, very important, this is very important, make sure you deselect everything that is not a laser. So, right, we're going to deselect the walls, we're going to deselect the sign, the roof, right? We just want the lasers. Make sure everything should just say, oh, and the light. All we want is laser pieces, right? Then you're going to just group them. So Control plus G or right click and then group as a model. Boom. Right? And then you're just going to name this lasers. Again, naming is very important. So this is plural, lasers, right? So once we have all our lasers, then you can right click the lasers model, click select children, and then set transparency to 1. We will set the transparency to 0.5 when the player actually locks their base. And of course, make sure while having all parts selected that they are anchored and can collide is not set to true. So that's, make sure it's set to false by default, right? Okay, so we're done with our lasers, and then for the next thing we have our wall lock. Now this is what is actually going to make it so that players cannot enter your base. Now for this I would recommend that you actually, I know we just made them not visible, but we're just going to select children and then set transparency to 0.5. For this I recommend you make them not you make them a little transparent. The reason so that you can see where the lasers are specifically. So I'm going to put a part down, right? A regular part. Oh, sorry, what's up there? Did not mean to do that. Let me grab the part. Okay, right there. Right. So you're just gonna put this in front of your lasers, right? You're gonna put it in front of your lasers. Then we're just going to scale it back. It's literally just going to be a skinny wall. So this is what it's going to be. This is now keep in mind, this is what is actually going to keep players from entering your base. So this is very important. So make sure you do this right. This is what is actually going to keep players from entering your base. So it's just going to be a very skinny wall in front of the lasers. So you're just going to scale it, just drag it. It should cover your entire entrance. So boom, just cover the entire entrance. You should not be able to see any bit, except for like, I guess, like if there are like tiny cracks, I guess. But yes, once you have your part, then you're going to want to rename it to wall lock, right? Set the transparency to 1 by default. Make sure it's anchored and make sure can collide is disabled, right? And then once you have your wall lock, you're done with that, then you can right click on the lasers, select children, and then now make them transparent. So boom. So just like that, we're almost done with the locking system. That's 2/3 of the locking system done. Well, excluding the scripting, of course. Now we're gonna make the actual the little circle over here where you can go to lock your base and stuff, right? The only functionality so far that will do with like scripting is making it so that it automatically assigns the player to an empty base, that it teleports them to their spawn, and that they'll be able to lock their base. That'll be it. Next video we'll do part 2. We'll probably do like the whole like red carpet, and then the NPCs are walking down it and everything. All right, so we're gonna go over here. You're gonna click at the top up here. You're going to want to insert a cylinder again, just like we did with the lasers. You're gonna want to, let me just double check. Okay, we're good. So you just want to go over here, right? Once you have your little cylinder, you just want to just flatten it out, just expand it a little bit. Then once you're done with that, you're gonna want to make the colors, the color yellow. I'll make the material neon. And then you're going to want, oh my bad, you're going to make the material neon, then set the name to lock base, right? So we're going to lock the base. Then you're going to scroll down, of course, anchor the part, right? Then you're going to want to insert a bool value into it, also known as a boolean. So just type bool, right? Plus icon, then bool. You're going to want to rename this, again, very important. Make sure you guys type this exactly as I'm typing it. Is locked, capital I, capital L. And then by default, make sure this value is not set to true and stuff, right? No check mark, right? We'll set this value to true when the player actually locks the base. So then you're going to want to insert a billboard GUI into our lock base, right? And then this is extremely important. Make sure, now this actually requires, you guys have to actually copy my properties exactly as I am, like with sizing and positioning. Font and like text and color and all that, that's up to y'all. But the problem is with billboard GUIs, they look very weird and stuff. Like they like to scale depending on where the player is and how far away they are, so you have to kind of do this a certain way. So we're going to set the adorny. So you're just going to click the billboard GUI and then just click adorny and then just click the lock base part. So then scroll down, rename it to lock GUI, right? Of course, disable reset on spawn just like we did before. Then you're going to want to scroll down and then extend it. All this should just be, set to 0. Then the size, we will set the size to 10, 0, 5, 0, boom, just like that, right? Again, if you change stuff, then you're probably going to mess something up. And then you'll change the size offset to 0, 1, and then I believe everything else is, everything else remains the same. Then you're going to want to insert a text label into the lock GUI, so boom, text label, right? Then you're going to want to rename this text label to lock text label, right? And then we are going to want to scroll down. After you've renamed it, you're then going to want to scroll down to the size. You're going to want to do 1, 0, 1, 0. So boom, like that, right? Just like that, so that it shouldn't scale and everything, right? So boom, okay, that should work, I believe, and stuff, but we'll fix it if need be. So I know it looks, pretty wide, but it's fine. So then you're gonna set the text to rich text, scale the text, bold text, right? Do remember that you're gonna set the background transparency to 1, so background transparency will be set to 1, and then you will change the text color to yellow, and then it should just be lock base. So lock base, and then text stroke color should be black, text stroke transparency will set to 0, so lock base, and then boom. So yeah, as you guys can see, it remains consistent. And so like obviously you can see it like rotating and stuff, but it doesn't like actually get, the text itself doesn't actually get bigger or anything if upon backing away. So boom, we finished that. So lock text label, that's good to go. Yeah, we're done with that. We're fully done with the locking system. So then we're going to want to group everything together, right? That's, I want to say the last, or no, that's one of the last things I want to do. So we're going to want to group everything together, or no, actually, I might want to save that to the end, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, I'm going to save that to the end, actually. Never mind, we'll do that at the end. So for the next thing, we're going to want to make our first platform. Platform is just the part right here where the NPC stands at, and then you have the collector in front of it where you collect the money. So we're gonna insert a part, regular block. Oh, it's at the top, and then just want to drag this down, right? Scale it so it'll look something like this. Again, I'm not going for it's not gonna look all that great, but So we'll have our part, and then you're gonna want to rename this part to this will be our, I guess this would just be, yeah, platform. So you name it to platform, right? Then anchor it, right? And make sure it's scaled up. Okay, there we go. Then you can just duplicate it. So duplicate, then just move it in front of it, and then you just scale it to be just against the ground completely, and then just make it a little wider. This will be your collector. So then you could just set the color to this, or for this to green. Just make it neon as well. This would be your collector, and then I'll make it transparent. So 0.5 transparency, and then you'll want to rename this to be your collector. So boom, we have our collector, right? Then inside of our collector, we're going to do the exact same thing we did with that. The great thing is with the lock, by the way, the great thing is we can just save ourselves some time. So go over to your lock base in the Explorer tab, find your lock GUI, copy, right? Select it, copy, then go back to your collector, right click, paste into. Now we have this, right? And then all you got to do is just update this. So click lock GUI inside of collector, right? And then you're going to update the Adorny to it's going to be, oh, wait, why didn't it? Oh, that's weird. Well, set the Adorny to the collector, right? Just click the part it's parented to. Then you're going to, of course, rename the lock GUI to collector GUI, right? This is where it's going to have how much money the player has to collect and everything. And the great thing is all you have to do is just change the the color and font and all that if you guys want to do that and stuff. So obviously by default we'll have no text, right? So we're gonna need two text labels first, the collect text label and then the money text label, right? So I believe I did actually have to change some things for this. So for the collector GUI, I think it's just 10.0. Yeah, okay. So I did do it differently. So this is 10. So you're gonna do 10, 0, 2, 0, right? And then for the size offset, that remains the same, right? And then we have two text labels. So we have the collect text label. So rename the lock text label to collect text label. So this is just, we're just gonna say collect. So obviously no text by default and stuff, right? But we'll set the text color to white and then yeah, but no text by default. As for the properties for this, you're going to set the size to 1, 0, 0.5, 0. Boom, right? Then the position will remain 0, 0. Then you can just duplicate this. So duplicate it while having it selected. Rename this to money text label. This is going to tell you it's going to tell the player how much money they have to collect for that specific I'm going to refer to them as just NPCs, I guess. And then you want to go to the position here, do 0, 0, 0.5, 0, right? Then size remains the same. And then this would just be money, and then I think the text color is green. I think, yeah, I think it's like a green and then black, yeah. So boom. And then just like that, we are done with that. We're gonna group all the platform stuff together. So click the platform, find the platform part, make sure everything is of course anchored and everything. So you're gonna again select one, then hold the control key bind and then left click. So get the collector, the platform. I think that's actually it. Yeah, that's actually it. Then you're just gonna group them together. So Control plus G. Then name this, very important. You're gonna want to name this platform, but the only difference is it's gonna be you're gonna have to throw a number on it. Platform 1. The word platform would just be a reference to the actual part that the NPC is gonna stand on. But platform 1 will be the specific platform. And then obviously if you want to make more, all you gotta do is just select one, duplicate, move over, just move it over however far you want, rename, and then all you gotta do is rename this to platform 2. One thing to note though, you will have to go into the collector GUI, and then of course update the Adorny. So you'll have to just click Adorny and then update it to that collector, right? And then you just keep doing that over and over for all your platforms and stuff for however many you want to have. I'm only gonna make 2. and stuff. But yeah, so you can make however y'all can make however many y'all want. Just remember, what I just said and everything. So just like that, we're actually done with everything. Now we're gonna group everything together. Then we have one last thing to do before we're done with the base. So you're gonna select everything we just made. So boom, select all of that. Make sure you grab everything that's needed. So lasers, platforms, walls, light, lock base, wall lock, sign, spawner, roof. Okay, then press Control plus G. Again, very important. Make sure your name is base, and then you're going to put 1. And then obviously if you want to make a second base, you would just select it, duplicate it, and then move it over. Again, keep in mind, right? Keep in mind, you're going to have to go into the platform and then ensure that the adornee is updated to the right collector. Just make sure it's updated to the right one and stuff if you want to have more than one base. So I'm just going to delete this base, right? So this is our base. We are done. And then now you're going to want to insert a string value into the base. So click the plus icon, string value. You're going to want to name this owner, right? So this will keep track of whoever owns the base, right? So by default, you want to put none, right? So again, make sure you spell it exactly as is. And then just like that, we are done with the building. And now we can get into some coding. Okay. So head on over to replicated storage, click the plus icon, insert a remote event. So you're going to want to rename this remote event come to core event. Then open up starter player, then insert a local script into starter player scripts, plus icon local script, rename the script to core script, in parentheses, put local. Then you're going to want to delete print hello world. We're going to create 2 variables first. Create a variable for the core remote event, so core event is equal to game.replicated storage, wait for child, core event. Then create a variable for your local player, so local player is equals to game.players.local player. Again, all we're doing is making it so that one, players will be auto assigned to a base, and 2, make it so that they're able to lock their base for 60 seconds. So we'll say core event.on client events connect function, in parentheses put event type comma arg1, which is short for argument number 1, which is just a piece of information that we're sending over. So enter, then do if event type is equal to lock base, enter, then we will create a variable for the base. So this will be the specific base that's being locked, right? Then we will say if base.owner.value is not equal to player.name, enter, right? So pretty much what this means is that if it's not equal to the player, this means for every other player. So this pretty much means whoever doesn't own the base, all those other players, what's next was going to happen? We're going to say base.wall lock. Remember, that's our invisible wall. Can collide we set to true so that players cannot enter the base. And then after that if statement, you're then going to use a for I loop to make the lasers visible. So you're going to say for I comma v in pairs, right? Remember, base 1, this is our wall lock. Remember, that's our wall lock. Then you're going to say for this, you're going to say works, or not works, sorry, you're going to say base, the specific base. Then you're going to say dot lasers. Remember, that is our group right here. And then you're going to say get children. You want to get all of the lasers, so get children. Then enter. Then you're going to say v dot transparency is equal to 0.5. Again, that's just for show, because after that we're then going to make a timer and stuff, because as you guys know, what happens is when you lock your base, you have a 60-second timer, which lets you know, like, okay, this is how much time you have left until your base unlocks. So we're going to set that up. We're going to say for I is equal to, now here, very important, here is where you're going to put however much time you want. In the actual game, it's 60 seconds, so I'm going to put 60 here. If you want to do something differently, make sure you pay attention to what I'm going to say. Here is where you put however much total time the player is going to have. Then comma 0, here's where it's going to end. So it's going to count down. So it's going to start here, then stop here. So it'll start at 60, go down and stop at 0. And then the third number is the change. So we're going to put -1 because we want it to go 60, 59, 58, right? Then enter, and then we're going to update the UI to reflect the timer. So we're going to say base dot lock base dot lock GUI dot lock text label dot text is equal to I dot 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 quotation marks space, and then you're just gonna put an S. So it's gonna be, you could also put seconds if you want. Yeah, you could just put seconds if you want. We'll just do it like that. Yeah, you do it like that, but it's up to y'all, right? Then we're gonna, of course, do task.wait 1 second, because that's where we'll ensure that it's 60 seconds. Then after this is done, this following code will proceed. You can just copy and paste this for our loop. So just copy, go right here, paste, and then all you gotta do is just set this to 1. So we'll make the lasers transparent so that you can't see them anymore, and then we will set the wall lock to no longer can't collide. So we'll say wall lock dot can collide. We'll set this to equal to false, and then we will update the text. So you could just copy this. So select it, Control C, Control V, and then you're just gonna set the text back to what it said before. So lock base. Right, and then we're done with the local script. Then we can move on to our server script. Okay, so we're done with that. So head on over to server script service plus icon server script. Then you're going to want to rename the script to core script in parentheses put server. Then delete this. Create one variable for the core event. So core event is equal to game the replicated storage wait for child core event. Then you're going to use a for loop. We're going to set up the lock base mechanics. We're going to say for I comma v in pairs. You're going to say workspace get children enter. You will say if v find first child owner. This is referring to the owner value we have right here. So owner enter. Then you are going to create a variable for the base. So base is equal to v, right? Then you will say base dot lock base dot touch. Remember that's the part touch connect function in parentheses put hit. Then in between those parentheses press enter. Right, and then you will say if, of course, you want to make sure that the player who's trying to lock the base is the actual owner. So hit.parent.name is equal to base.owner.value, because the value of owner will be set to whoever owns the base, their username. And then of course we need to check one more thing. We also need to say and base.lock base.is oh my god is locked dot value set to false and stuff. Obviously, we don't want the base to. You don't want players to be able to sit there and spam the lock base feature and stuff, right? So, enter, and then of course you're gonna update it. So you're gonna say base dot lock base dot is locked dot value is set to true. You're then gonna fire the remote event. You're gonna say core event fire all clients. And then in quotation marks, you're going to say lock base, comma, send over the specific base. Then you're going to set up a delayed function. So task.delay 60 seconds. Okay, this is very important. So let's say you changed it and you didn't want 60 seconds and stuff. You would put whatever number you put here. You would put that right here. So, right. Then comma function, close parentheses, enter. And then once you're done, you can just duplicate this. So just select it, Control C, Control V. Then you set it to false, right? Because the base is no longer locked, and we're done with that first function. Now players are able to lock their base. Then we will now set up the auto assign function. So go after that, and then you're going to say game.players.player added connect function in parentheses put PLR to short for the player who joined the game. Then press enter. You're then going to use a for loop. You're going to say for I comma v in pairs. You're going to say workspace get children enter, right? You're then going to say if v find first child owner. So this I will know it's a base. And of course, you need to make sure that no one currently owns the base. So v.owner.value is equal to none. Enter, right? And then that's how we'll know that no one owns it. Then you'll say v.owner.value is equal to player.name, so their username and stuff. A lot of people like to ask if they can use the display names. You guys can do it, but I would not recommend it. Here's what's going to happen. If you do use the display names, you're going to break the code. It's not going to work because a lot of the stuff relies on using the player's username. And in all honesty, you shouldn't really want to use their display names and stuff, right? Because people can change the display names and everything. So you would just want to be consistent and just use the usernames, right? So then after that, you're going to update the sign such that it says, their username and then base. So we're just going to say v dot sign GUI dot sign text label dot text is equal to player dot name dot quotation mark space, or not space, sorry, apostrophe s, then space, and then you're going to say base, right? Then after that, you're going to put a break. The problem is if you don't put the break, what'll happen is it'll pretty much go through and find every single base that is currently not owned, and then it'll assign that player to every single base that is not currently owned. That's why we need the break to ensure this only runs once, right? So then you're going to go after that. So just skip the two ends, and then now we're just going to set it up so that whenever the player dies, respawns, whatever, they respawn back at their base spawner. So you're going to say player dot character added connect function in parentheses put character enter. Then you're going to say for iv in pairs workspace, get children, enter. Then you're going to say if v find first child owner and v dot owner dot value is equal to player dot name, right? Or you could put character dot name, it doesn't matter. Enter, and then you'll just say character pivot colon pivot to v dot spawner dot cframe, right? Very important that you make sure everything is inside of your base. Okay, and just like that, we are done. Let's go ahead and test to ensure everything works. Okay, so if I go ahead and press play, right? Okay, as you guys can see, well, the spawner is invisible, but I know that I'm already, as you can see, if we open it up, I'm currently at the spawner. It says SpyJ19's base. We have our lock base thing over here. So if I go over here and press lock base, as you can see, 60 seconds, right, is now on the clock. And then boom. If you want it all to be like on one line, because yeah, it does look, I'm not gonna lie, it does look kind of weird, I'm not gonna lie. If you want it all to be on one line, you could just make the what is it called? Trying to think. Oh, the lock GUI. Yeah. You could adjust this and just make the X just longer and stuff, right? If you just wanted to. Obviously, change this, modify this when you're not testing and stuff, right? To ensure it saves stuff. But yeah. So right now, I can pass through it. As you guys can see, I can pass through it. But to other players, they would not be able to. They would not be able to pass through it and stuff. If you guys find any bugs or anything, let me know in the comments and stuff. Discord, it doesn't matter, and then I will adjust them in future parts. That goes for the entire series. If you find any bugs, just let me know. I will continue the series so long as people continue showing the series love and support. If you're interested in gaining access to this model and scripts and any of my other models and scripts, you guys can read the description. Look at the description. See that? Okay, so once it's done, it goes back to lock base, and then the lasers go away. So boom. So yeah, like I said, read the description if you're interested in this or any of my other scripts or models. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, definitely leave a like and subscribe, and just let me know if you guys want part 2 and whatever else you guys want to see in part 2. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next part.